and
Yep.
also I imagine waiting on Bogdanovich on a 3 game slate. Every
Everything
every
matters.
every bit's important.
Yeah.
Also, what would be interesting to me is something we're not getting for 100 hours. And that would be Clipper starters, but maybe it's not. Maybe we know what's going to happen already. I mean, Powell's going to be a chalky play that you can either play or not. Reggie Jackson's going to be a play. But what about the other? What about the other cheapos for the Clippers? You like stuff like Amir Coffee and plays like that, or no?
Coffee just because of the minutes, and it looks like they actually brought up some other bodies, so they don't have 9 anymore. So I'm a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
lower on the Clippers. That doesn't mean I'm not going to play them. It just means I'm probably not going to play 4 of them. I
Okay.
probably will try to limit it to 3. Yeah, I think it's like I had an order from the beginning of the day, which changed. I like Jackson, Mann, Batum, and Powell the best, followed by Coffee and Covington. But they're all going to have some ownership, with the potential exception of Zubac. And I just think that the low ownership on this slate should drive what we're doing. And I personally am going to make sure to play some Zubac. Probably going to end up in my big one as of right now, just because I want to. I want to try to get some exposure to that game that's going to be lower owned. And I know he's not going to put up 76 fantasy points again, but at 7K, I think that's reasonable. And I think that I actually have him and Christian Wood in my main build right now. But I think that Christian Wood being what? Let me see Wood's ownership right now. He's projected to be down to only 25%. And Zubac, we've got it what? Around 10%. Well, depending on between you and SaberSim, it's got it around 10, but you've got it 13. But that's a significant lower owned play on this one. So I do like the idea of doing that. Cheats, are you getting any of that?
I currently in my big buy, and I answered the Luka and Curry question in the way that would make everybody happiest, and that I played 0 of them. uh, I tossed them both out of my big buy, and I do have about 45% of them in my MMEs,
Yep.
but I played but I went neither of them in my big buy, and so all those I'm not quite. I don't think I need to quite make the same amount of concessions. You know what I mean? Not concessions. Not that Zubac is that much worse to play than Christian Wood, but I think I could. I don't need to be quite a bit as big of a hero if I'm fading both Luka and
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
I am fading both Luka and as well.
Yeah.
Both Luka and I figure that's one way. If you fade both Luka and Steph, the raw points thing means I'm playing Poole or Poole, Wiggins, Thompson, or Poole, Wiggins, or Thompson. So for me, Thompson's the one I currently like the best. And I like the idea of playing Simons I think Simons is my biggest spend up. Is that right? I think he is. I'm sort of with you on that, getting a little bit different in that way. And the more players we have in the late game, obviously, we might get some information that we don't have yet because it just happens all the time. But I would be a little bit. It is kind of a fun thing, right? The Clippers and we have all the guys who played for the former teams playing each other, or not all these guys, a number of them. You got Powell, you've got Covington, you've got on the other side, you've got Winslow. I just think it's kind of funny. So I'm
Yeah.
And I like all those guys anyway. Any little extra boost I can get on a 3-gamer, I'm going to try and take advantage of it. But I do think Reggie Jackson's a very tough guy for me to fade. I don't really see the bust path too easily, other than him just having a terrible shooting night without these other active scorers. And I think that he's my main play. I don't think there's anything unusual. I think he's probably going to be one of the most popular plays in the slate. But I do like the idea of trying to get less Luka. I'm not sure that anyone is actually going to. Well, I think Curry's ownership is maybe a little bit more volatile than people are treating it like it is. I don't think he's guaranteed to be that high on him. Just double checking.
Who?
I think Steph is going to be lower owned than people think.
Well, like I said, I mean, we talked about this earlier. It's hard to play them both, really. and Luka just projects just so much better, and you can get in one easily. So he's just not going to get Curry's just not going to get owned.
Yeah. I
That'll
hear
be.
you. Yeah, I think he's going to be lower owned than the other guys. I'm also playing Julius Randle in my big buy-in, a little fellow November 29th.
Hey, there it is.
Little birthday narrative for Julius Randle.
Yeah.
And I think he's a fine play anyway. So I'm going to say what's up to Nick Nelson in chat. What's up, buddy? And what's up to Adam Perry? Thanks for the kind birthday wishes from both you guys. And yeah, I posted in Discord instead of posting on the site today because I was running around. I posted my early builds, and I basically have the same thing as of right now. I don't really have a whole lot of difference in my early builds yet, unless we hear some other kind of news or some funky starting lineup or something with the Pistons. And really, fortunately the Pistons is the first game because that'll dictate a lot.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you about one of the guys. Because Quentin Grimes is solo owned, is it worth taking a shot maybe on him as opposed to some of this Clipper value? Just like you're getting a guy who's like 5% owned, who's starting and playing enough minutes. I'm not saying
you just get that early versus late game thing, I guess. And Quentin Grimes is not like he's like 3K anymore, and he's 4,400. I mean,
right. It's just something I was trying to figure out if I could do to get a little bit different. But the other one who I don't think is going to get much ownership, and this is assuming that he plays. By the way, if Quickly doesn't play, I do like Grimes quite a bit.
Okay.
But I don't think Quickly's getting any ownership. And talk about a guy who can, he can get there in a quarter. If you know what I mean? He has the ability to. So maybe getting some exposure to Quickly is basically the biggest thing that I've had from earlier. I'm a little surprised. Was this right? Is THJ starting tonight? Did they do that last time out? That's really weird.
Instead of whom? Like DFS or something?
Reggie Bullock.
Okay.
I wonder if that means Bullock is out. I don't have him as out right now, but let me just double check. Because that's going to make Hardaway look like a better play and probably make him a worse play in reality.
Right.
But it'll give him a chance to get going early, and he's going to be so low owned. Like these are just the kind of guys you can think about as the pivots off of, the chalkier Clippers and Portland guys like Winslow, and then the Clippers guys and Mann and all that. So I do think that those are two that sort of stand out a little bit as guys who could get there. Or for me, were Hardaway if just needs a hot shooting night, and that's always a possibility. I also think Hardaway starting makes Christian Wood a much better play, even, and he was already a good play as it is. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the 6-figure day. I hope so. I mean, I got one lineup to get me 6 figures, so we'll in the big one. I guess I can win the lottery. Why not? Yeah. And I'm just trying to take another look around and see if they've updated for Hardaway starting. It is kind of interesting they're doing that against Golden State. I think I might be able to talk myself into some Hardaway. The problem is it's such a Luka-centric focused offense on the starting lineup. Can you get away with Hardaway? How does that work? Hardaway and Christian Wood and fading Luka? I don't know. Maybe I can do that. And the other guy who never is in play on the big slates and always in play on these small ones is Dorian Finney-Smith, but he's going to have a little bit of ownership. I just think Hardaway.
My current big buy-in has nobody from the Golden State game at all.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Little Western Conference Finals rematch here.
Which one?
Dallas Golden State.
Okay.
I think THJ is kind of interesting, but I'm not sure he's going to stay low owned anymore. He's certainly not exactly been setting the world on fire, but look, we're trying to find ways to get different on this slate. So if we really think he's going to be low owned, I'm just going to see if they're going to update these projections, because I wonder if Hardaway starting is going to make him look.
Maybe they're just waiting. They'll get the Detroit news, and then everything will update at the same time, maybe.
Right. Yeah, probably. The problem is the Detroit News may not come till like 10 minutes. They're so late with their lineups.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. But shout out to Dallas for getting out their starting lineup already, which means they're probably not going to start the same lineup they have out there. Rich P's got a good question, and I'll answer it, and I'll let Sheets answer it. Max of 3 guys per team with a question mark. I think that you can go 4 on the Clippers, but I like the 3 spot a little bit better than I like 4. How about you, Sheets?
Yeah, I see. This is the way I do it. The first thing I do is I do my lineups without any rules at all and see what they get, what I get, right? And just naturally, I'm not getting too many with 4 anyway. So what I'll end up doing is probably just leave it. Like I'm getting of my, like I'm playing 40 lineups in the MME, and I have 5 of them with 4. Actually, no, I have 6, 7 of them with 4. I think playing 4 is okay on a 3-game slate. And especially if I'm going to play nobody from the Golden State game, you're going to almost always get 4 from somebody.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you reminded me, because I just saw that I had 2 lineups with 5 in it, and that I don't want.
I actually don't think I think if there's a slate you could do it on, this is kind of the one, though, right? Like,
yes.
It's not like there's nobody you feel like you need. It's weird to have a slate this big and there's like nobody you feel like you need to play. And the one who I feel the most like I need to play is Reggie Jackson, which, even though I'm having a hard time seeing the bus path on this slate, we certainly know there's high volatility with him. Like he can easily put up 20 fantasy points and good for you. But there's just nobody I feel like I absolutely need to play here. It would be weird because at low ownership on a bigger slate, I'd be all over Luka. But on this slate, I just think at his ownership, I think I'm going to fade it in my big buy-ins.
Listen, you have some work to do, right? To beat him, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, let's say he gets 65. Okay. Yeah, why can't, Simon's getting 40, even not even 45, Zubac getting 35 or 40, Woods getting 40-ish, Randall getting 45-ish. He's got that'll even out. And then you have the possibility of Klay Thompson going off. He was probably going to go off. They have him as 30 minutes. I have him another site that has him at playing 27 in the last game. So it is interesting how you see that happen. DraftKings says he's played 30. But he was getting it going. They ended up winning the game so easily. They didn't need him to stay in. And Klay is starting to shoot the ball really well. I mean, that 10 3-pointer game is going to come again and not too long, in my opinion. So I'm a very big fan of Klay. And if you're not going to play Klay, I really like Poole as the pivot off of him. I think Poole ends up with very, very low ownership, and for good reason. But on this kind of a slate, why can't Jordan Poole just have a heat check game and go out there and put up 37, 40 fantasy points, something like that?
So Jaden Ivey, 45 minutes ago, they said he's a game time decision.
Yeah.
They said they would see what happens if he takes the floor for warm-ups. And let me see if there's any news on Bogdanovich. He's also a game time decision. Clarity may not surface until they take the court for pregame warm-ups. Right. So we're gonna be on that at like 10 of or whatever.
Yep, sounds about right. Need to win one of these. I've been looking at apartments all day, man. These apartments ain't cheap out here. Santa Barbara is no joke.
Yeah, I'm planning. I'm not planning it. I'm planning to plan a trip out to LA at some point over the next 6 months.
Oh.
Is there and go and come into the Firestone Pavilion is one of my
we got to make that happen.
Is there any particular time that you know of now in the next 6 months that you're not going to be there?
No, I'm planning to be home pretty much for a while.
Okay.
That's my current plan. The traveling is sort of a little bit, unfortunately, like done with for me for the moment.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, I'll be around, man. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
One other thing we didn't talk about earlier, I think this is a very reasonable slate to leave like 500 on the table or something like that if you want to get different with a chalkier build. 500 plus on the table. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's certainly fine.
Yeah. It's a little bit what got me last night, by the way. I kept trying to find, and then it just didn't make any sense. I don't know. Draymond's fine. These are all fine plays that don't stand out. Like, this is a bad matchup for Draymond. There's no reason to think it's going to be good, but Draymond is just sort of all over the place with this thing, and he's going to be popular. And if you're trying to weigh in general, like Draymond versus the other plays, you're always going to want to look for some ceiling. And Draymond has significantly lower ceiling, but he is getting significantly lower ownership than he usually does. So I think Draymond is a good pivot off the other guys I mentioned. I like Clay, but Draymond would be. I think I would have Draymond third because I think Poole ends up lower owned than Draymond, forgetting what the sites have him at. I just think when people click the button, he ends up higher owned. And I think Wiggins is going to have ownership. Wiggins was good in this series last year too, by the way, for what it's worth. But like, it's a huge downgrade of a matchup for Golden State and a huge upgrade for Dallas. Oh, Kobe, I love it, buddy. He lived in SB for a year, and he's looking for a home in the Moore Park, Thousand Oaks area sometime in 23. I'm also
Nice.
very familiar with that area too. That's awesome, man. Other plays. I'm trying to see if there's anybody I'm missing.
Yeah, I know a guy I'm getting to that you don't usually play.
Go for it.
Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, it's always. I mean, look, it's fine on this slate.
Yeah.
And
if that game goes to overtime, you want to have him.
Yeah, I would just try not to. I would just make sure. And by the way, he's been really good. I would just try not to play him with. Like, if you're playing Nurkic, don't put them in the same lineup.
Why those two?
Because they'll play small ball with Grant sometimes. It doesn't mean they have to eat into each other, but they are more likely to eat into each other. Also, you have the rebound equity for Grant gets taken away somewhat by Nurkic. But the way that Grant's been playing, I mean, he scored 44 real life points the other night. Like, that's nuts. Is that real? Like, he made 21 of 28 free throws? What the hell was going on in that game? How do you get to
what's cool is having a bunch of Portlands is you could just wait.
Yeah, exactly. You can wait and decide.
Wait.
Not me. I've got a birthday dinner thing to go to. But.
And I'll tell you this, that what is Zubac's price, for example? Zubac is 7,000. Believe me, Nurkic will become Zubac if I need it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
As could
he could also be in Jeremy Grant too.
He can't be because I currently have Nurkic in the flex.
Yeah, but they're the same game.
Right, but no. But right, Nurkic could become him, but Jeremy Grant cannot become him.
Oh, because I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's anything wrong with it on this slate. I shouldn't say it. I just, in general, those are the types of things I try to avoid. But I mean, look, these games from Jeremy Grant, I don't even know how he did that. Like,
well, they have no other players, right? I mean, like
21 for 28 from that. How did he get to the free throw line 28? Is that 20 more than his career high? Like, that's nuts. I mean, they've got other pretty good players. The one who I really don't like to play with, and I'm not playing much of him tonight, unfortunately, because I like him in general, but I wouldn't play Josh Hart with Nurkic in general, too, just because you're playing Josh Hart for his rebounding upside.
Right.
He's a tremendous rebounder, and if Nurkic is in, those rebounds go to Nurkic usually.
But I gotta tell you this: Jeremy Grant got 50 and 40 fantasy points the last 2 games. Man, these New York teams really can't stop anybody. That's what it goes to show you.
Well, yeah, and maybe that brings us back to a little bit of the Pistons. We just need to know who's playing.
Yeah,
and they upped the price on the Pistons. I mean, even at 6,300, like I'm very happy to see Killian Hayes finding his stride a little bit. Like,
wait, so I have Dallas starters as Reggie Bullock. So I have Powell, Bullock, DFS, Dinwiddie, and Luka.
I don't. That's weird.
In the DraftKings app.
Let's take a look. It could be just a mistake that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I have the guys that you'd expect actually.
I have Hardaway Jr. in Dallas. I'm sorry, I have Hardaway Jr. starting from on DraftKings.
I mean, I'm looking right at my line right here. Let's see.
Me too. He's got Tim Hardaway Jr. has a big check mark next to him.
Not mine. Mine has the other guy with the check mark.
Did you refresh it?
I'll do it again. Let's see lineups. Let's see. It's possible.
NBA has Hardaway, and so does Roto Grinders.
Now, yeah, now I got Hardaway. There it is.
There it is.
And there you have it. Do we have to play? I don't know. We don't have to play it. We definitely have to reset the project. Do the projections though.
Yeah, kid. Yeah, it's THJ today. So they're clearly trying to get a little more firepower on their offense in the first unit. Unfortunately, I'm surprised that THJ's minutes or projection hasn't changed all that much.
Like SaberSim gave him an extra like 2.5 points.
Did they? I'm for some reason I didn't have that. Okay, there you go.
Well, no, from where I have them at. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not going to redo everything just for this guy.
Right. Yeah, they've got him a little, and his ownership it probably gets closer to 10 or 15%, but still that's really low. Yeah,
12.
Yeah, they've got him at 12. I think realistically somewhere between 10 and 15. Maybe could be higher. I mean, look, you're playing Golden State. Everybody's got a chance to score, right? Like they play fast. They're gonna, you're gonna have shot opportunities, and he is a guy who will shoot. I don't know what to do with that one.
Maybe I will play someone from that other game. Maybe I will play like Christian Wood or something.
Yeah, I like Christian Wood. Jalen Brunson over 20 and a half fantasy points. I love that bet. I think you're going to win that bet like at least 60% of the time, probably higher. I mean, he scored 21 or more in 6 out of his last 7. They can just keep playing faster. The games where he doesn't get there tend to be games like he had the really weird game against OKC where they were getting killed, right? And then they came back a little bit, so he stayed on the bench. So basically, like whenever he's playing 30 minutes, it takes like a fluky sort of game for him not to get there. And he had a 2 of 13 game against Golden State where he only had 13 real points. But yeah, as a prop bet, I will answer that. I think Jalen Brunson at over 20 real life points is a really good bet. Favorite Pistons? It's impossible to answer, Kobe. I'd love to answer this.
I want to know who's playing.
We need to know who's playing. Burks' minutes, and the funny thing about Burks' minutes really aren't all over the place. They're basically just never playing significant minutes. He played 25 in one game when they were playing well with the second unit. His usage is phenomenal. I'll give him that. I mean, he has had crazy usage, but also he's been playing without Jaden Ivey in some of those games. And without, I mean, just remember that's a big other piece. I'm not trying to force a Piston. You want to though, right? Like you want to try to attack these Knicks, but who do we use? We have to know who's playing. I guess there's no real other way to slice it.
Can I ask you a question? I have a State Kings question for you. It's actually more of I guess it's maybe a Tyler question. I don't know. So, but you've been doing this for a while. Is there a way to limit, I guess there's not, right? The amount that one person can take of you?
Yes, there is.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's if you go to the additional package options.
Okay.
And stake limit, there's that written in there, so it'll allow people to only take that much of you, which I think is a really cool thing for you to do, especially. Yeah.
The other question I have is, are you allowed to check and see who bought you?
They tell you the number of people. I don't know how to tell who were the people. I'm sure I don't know. There's probably a way.
And can you have like a breakdown if one guy like bought all of it or something, or?
Yeah, usually the ones that happen really quickly, it's usually like 2 guys.
Okay.
But not always.
Yeah, because what I wanted to do is I want to make it so that like everybody could, that wants to get into, get in a little bit, and I don't want to sell like 100% of myself. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
Um,
Yeah, that's
so
a
I'm
great,
trying
that's
to
a great
figure
way.
out.
Brandon Adams does that a lot.
Oh, he limits the amount of.
When he posts it, he'll often limit the amount. Yeah,
Okay.
which I think is just a cool thing. I mean, that guy, he's done well enough for himself.
Yeah, but he also gets like rake back from, or not even that. I think I don't know what. Well, we'll talk about it some other time.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He asked me to coach him for NBA at one point, and I probably should have listened to him. Yeah.
Speaking of, you guys want to watch something fun? I did a podcast today with For those of you that know poker, you'll know this name more than a lot of people. But Matt Berkey does a podcast called Solve for Why. He's like really, really smart dude. So he had me on today for like quite a while talking about like backing back like in pre-Black Friday and stuff. We talked about had a lot of old like poker stories and stuff, and like threw some names around and stuff. It was a lot of fun. If you guys want to go check that out.
That's awesome.
And I threw in a little True DFS plug at the end. We didn't want to talk about it before, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Every once in a while, I like talking about that stuff, and we definitely went on for like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. It was definitely cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like Matt Berkey a lot actually too as a player. I mean, I still sort of am a little bit of a poker nerd at heart. I still watch all my videos and I listen to all the podcasts and all that stuff. And I mean, I remember playing with him before he was like one of the guys,
Well, I remember when he came to us for backing, we told him to go screw off because he was terrible. we went over that also today. It's funny. It's like, what do we know? We don't know anything. You know what I mean? Like it didn't. Sometimes we just missed it. Sometimes we just got it wrong. What can I say?
Hey, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think you guys did all right though.
Yeah, we survived.
You survived somehow. Yeah, so it's hard to find a whole lot else to talk about without a Pistons injury update. My guess is that these guys are playing as of right now, but we're just speculating.
Who
and
knows?
That is the only uptick in minutes for Burks that I'm seeing is with guys out. Like so he played his season high minutes the other night. I also had it when the first game he came back as well, but that was, you had no Bogdanovich and no Jaden Ivey. That obviously makes a big difference. And he had the game before that, he had a 43% usage rate. He only played 17 minutes, but 43% usage rate. I mean, that's beyond Luka. That's crazy.
Well, I have to run because I have like some really tasty chicken soup waiting for me.
All right. Well, you go have your chicken soup, and I have to go to my birthday dinner a little bit, so I'll probably get out of here.
Happy birthday. Enjoy.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good night.
Right,
good luck, everybody. And I will be in Discord, you guys, for the remainder of the time. So